Good morning, beautiful people. This is the big story here on Business Day Television Breakfast Show. I am Destiny Momoh. Today we have a spotlight on a conversation that is stirring some conversation. The federal government has introduced a 15% import tariff on petrol and diesel, and not everyone is upset about it. In fact, the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA, is applauding the move, calling it a bold and necessary step to protect local refining and grow Nigeria's economy. But a big question this morning is, will this tariff boost local production, or will it just make life harder for everyday Nigerians already struggling with high costs? And joining us this morning is the Director General of NECA, Adewale Smatt Oyerinde, to dissect this conversation. Good morning, Mr. Smatt.
Good morning, and thank you for having us.
Thank you for joining us. We appreciate this effort. Now let's start with the basics. What exactly does this 15% import tariff actually mean for fuel importers and for Nigerians at large?
Well, I think it's very important. While I say good morning once again to our viewers, I think it's very important that we get the narration very well, because there is a bit of misinformation that is going on, and it's very important that we get the context of this engagement very, very correctly.
Okay.
Now, the 15% tariff is not a blanket 15% on petroleum products.
Okay.
It is 15% tariff on imported petroleum products. Imported.
Okay.
And the reality for us is this. Why, for God's sake? In the first instance, because it seems for many years we have accepted the absurd, the terribly absurd. We have accepted it as standard, which is what is basically affecting the psyche of many of us. We are a country that is also currently, we are working against all the principles of basic economics. Economics 101, when I was in university,
Okay.
there is a concept of comparative advantage, that those things that you have comparative advantage on, you leverage your strength. The ones you don't have comparative advantage on, then you can bring in from anywhere in the world. Now, we have crude laced with crude oil. We used to have, I am picking my words carefully now, we used to have 4 refineries, because they are all not working now. We are now exporting crude oil. Crude that we have, we are exporting it to import petroleum products. It is absurd.
It is absurd.
And for us, with the advent of the Dangote Refinery, with over 650,000 capacity, 650,000 barrel capacity per day, with other refineries that are probably coming here and there, with the encouragement of modular refineries, we have no business importing fuel.
Exactly.
Last week, Oando said their profits tipped by, their profit or revenue tipped by 20%, because they decided, because the change in the dynamics of the oil and gas markets, they stopped importing, and the profit dipped, the revenue dipped by 20%. Now imagine the damage we are doing to ourselves. If revenue dipped by 20%, and this 20% is in billions of naira.
It is
because
actually.
they stopped importation. Now imagine what the kind of good that will happen to this country if across board those cash is not going to private pockets, but it's being used for developmental purposes. So we feel strongly that the government need to take a very bold step, which it has taken. Let's put some level of restraint on ourselves, our propensity for importation. Let's support the local refiners. Let's create the environment for them to be able to continue to refine, because in stopping importation, the pressure on forex will reduce. And if the pressure on forex reduces, the Naira will have opportunity to breathe more. And it will have consequential effects, not only on our foreign reserves, it will have consequential effects on businesses whose inputs is bought in dollars, and that is the reality of our position. So the 15% is not on a blanket 15% on all petroleum products. It is on imported product. And if America
haven't made that clear, right? NECA says this policy will protect local refining. But with our refinery still struggling, are we truly ready for that protection to work?
Now, it's either you do it now or you keep creating scenarios, giving yourself reasons and good reasons why you should not do it. Before the fuel petroleum subsidy was removed, if you take your mind back, successive governments have tried to remove the fuel subsidy. At every point they announce, there will be demonstration. After demonstration, the government will call some people to a round table. Let's look for this and that to put in the effect. Money will be appropriated. After a while, we go back to the same thing. Another government will come, try to do it. So look, we need some level of shock to get us out of the state we have dragged ourselves. And when the president came up, when he was sworn and said subsidy is gone, it caught everybody unawares. And that's the kind of shock that we need. What we have to do and what we have urged government to do is this. The Naira for crude policy that was initiated, I think we need to strengthen that so that the supply at the local level, nothing will hinder it. Because a good policy can turn to an albatross if not well implemented. And what we have advised is this. We must create concurrently, as we have implemented that 15%, the moment we implement that 15%, we must also create the avenue for local refiners, not only to get crude, but also to be able to operate unhindered so that supply will not be short-circuited within the context of local supplies.
All right, then. Now, could this move strengthen the Naira? Could it strengthen the Naira as predicted, or might it fuel inflation and even increase transport costs and other sectors?
For us, it will have direct hit on the Naira. It gives the Naira the opportunity to breathe. Because why is Naira facing the challenges facing? Because our propensity to demand for dollars for importation is higher. So, and the biggest culprit is importation of fuel. That is one of the areas which is progressively putting pressure on dollars. So if the pressure for importation of fuel is reduced, the demand for dollars will naturally reduce. And the forces of demand and supply, the lesser the demand for dollars, the lower the value of dollars, the higher the value of the Naira. We believe it will have consequential effect on the lives of an average Nigerian. Maybe not immediately, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but in the shortest term and in the medium term, it will have a long-term impact on this economy. That strongly we believe.
I also believe that this will attract investors. Okay, from your perspective, does this signal real policy confidence for investors in oil and gas?
Well, why some might feel differently, me as an investor, and I must say this also respectfully. For anybody that commits his 1 Naira to start a business in this environment, Anybody that is bold enough to borrow money, to collect credit from the bank, whether locally or internationally, and invest in our country, such people should be given medals, but medals of honor, because it is not easy operating in this environment. So when individuals now bring their hard-earned cash, while some others are taking their funds to Switzerland, to many other countries, and also some others are bringing those funds to start businesses here, to employ Nigerians. I think those people demand they should be given medals. And that's the position we have. So liberalizing this process, protecting the local manufacturers and industries, will naturally give any foreign investor some level of confidence to bring his money to this country, so that he knows that he will not face the jeopardy of investing and government policy creating unfavorable situation for him. Let me share a real life issue with you. Few years ago, we have businesses, a government liberalized the tomato paste industry. And they said, look, we are banning importation of tomato paste because we have tomato here. Businesses here, you can invest and let's start producing tomato within the context of the country. Many countries, many companies invested in machineries, borrowed money, they started the process. Few years later, another government came up and changed that same policy and said people can start investing, can start importing, which creates distortion for those businesses, which basically messed up their investment, messed up the loan they've collected. And those are the stories we've had. So for an average investor, it needs some level of guarantee and level of commitment that the risk he or she is taking to invest in this economy will not turn to regret for him. So that is one of the reasons why we say, look, this will open up the mind of investor to say, look, I can invest in the oil and gas industry knowing that my investment is significantly protected.
Table at the end of the day. Okay, then, so what does the government actually need to fix immediately in our refinery system for this tariff to actually make sense?
Well, I laugh because for as far as I can remember in my professional life, the conversation about turnaround maintenance has never ceased. And the more we turn around, we do the turnaround maintenance, it's like the worse those refineries, the worse they become. And we've heard of recent that the NNPC is also considering leasing those refineries to private investors, technical partners that can actually run it. The truth of the matter is this: for those 4 refineries, I won't stick my head out to say those refineries will work, because the forces, the principalities and powers that are massed against those refineries, I think it will take angels or God himself to come down and make those 4 refineries work. So the decision of the NNPC to go the way of privatizing them, we think that might be a good way to give them a new lease of life. But for government, what government must do quickly, I think we must ensure that the supply of crude to those 4 refineries, to the private refineries, is not hindered. Crude must consistently be supplied. New entrants into the manufacturing, into the refining business should also be encouraged, so that there will be proper competition. I read this morning that the Dangote Refinery has also dropped price. The importers also, everybody is dropping price. Everybody is struggling for share of the market, and that is what we want. That is what will benefit the consumer on the long run. Create an environment where local manufacturers can actually invest. That is where we can create jobs. That is where communities can develop through the CSR activities of those organizations. That is how the household can improve, the living standard of household can improve. If not, we import, and the more we import, the more we export our jobs and export the benefit that an average Nigerian should benefit.
Okay, now the Director General actually talked about resolving Naira for crude issues. Why is that so critical to the success of this policy?
It's part of the absurdities of our environment is we have a refinery, a local refinery, a local refinery that is owned by a Nigerian. Even if it's not a Nigerian, the fact that the local refinery is located in the context of our country and is working and is contributing effectively within the context of job creation, and is also helping us to reduce the pressure of importation. Now, the natural expectation is that such investment will be protected, but that is not what we've seen. Now, if a local refinery, let's say Dangote Refinery, for example, or another refinery, if it doesn't have adequate supply of local crude, what it will do is to import crude oil from another country, and it will import the crude in dollars. So by the time he refines, to recoup its investment, the money that will have been spent on importing crude, he will have to sell that crude, you have to sell the petrol in dollar value, which will never keep the price, make the price competitive for the local market. So the context, or one of the contexts of crude for Naira is that, look, we are buying in Naira to become easy. So the pricing will not necessarily be the pricing of the petrol in dollars. So it helps the refiner, and it also gives the country some level of leverage. So it's a win-win for the refiner, wherever he is, and it's a win-win for the country also. The option open to the refiner is to go and import crude to Nigeria, and then sell the product also in dollar terms, which will be a disadvantage to the local market. So, and that is why stakeholders have said, look, that Naira for crude makes a lot of sense within the context of the business model that we should operate in. And we also believe strongly that for Nigerians, this might be contentious.
Okay.
For Nigerians, if a Nigerian is benefiting 10 Naira as subsidy on petroleum products, I think it is not out of place. The fact that you're a Nigerian and God has blessed my country with crude oil, natural resources. Being a Nigerian should count for something.
Exactly.
It should count for something.
I'm
not a foreigner. So benefiting from the natural resources of my country, it should not be out of place.
Yes.
And those are conversations that we'll probably have in some other platforms or some other program. But being a Nigerian should count for something. Subsidy on electricity, subsidy on crude, for Nigerians, I think being a Nigerian should count for something, really.
I agree with you. Okay, Nigerians are already paying more for fuel and transport. And I know you agree that they should embrace another price. And I mean, they will not be able to embrace another price increase because of this tariff. Now, how can government actually cushion possible side effects of this policy, especially for small businesses and low-income earners?
We want to believe strongly that one of the things that government will have done is to engage the local refiners to ask, what is your capacity? Before now, we actually don't know, before the advent of the Dangote Refinery, we don't even know what is the fuel consumption per day in the country. The NNPC of old, they would turn up figures that justify their activities. Until recently, we start understanding the quantum of our consumption per day. And we believe strongly one of the conversations the government will have had, or should have had, or must have had, is to ask the local refiners, what is your capacity? Can you meet local refining
Mm.
or local consumption? If the combined, if I'm government, if the combined capacity of those local refiners is up to 80% consumption per day, or they can meet 85% of local consumption per day, I will go ahead and implement it. So what the 15% tariff will deal with is the importation. It's strictly importation, which doesn't mean that it will increase the price of local refining. Even as of today, I still saw in the papers that prices of crude, prices of petrol is still coming down. So it is not a cause and effect. That because you put a 15% tariff on the remnant of importation, then it will affect the prices across board. It won't. We believe strongly that it will not.
So that, Mr. Smatt.
Once government takes care of the dynamics at the back, pardon me,
Okay.
once government takes care of the dynamics at the back, make sure crude is available, get the commitment of all the local refiners that they can meet at least 85 to 90% of local consumption per day, then that draws investors into that sector, and progressively
Very correct. You're very correct.
nail importation to 0%.
You're very correct. I just want to ask you this question finally, and please just give me a very brief answer because of time, right? In your view, is this 15% import tariff the game changer and Nigeria's oil sector needs, or just another short-term policy test? Please give me a very brief but very effective answer on this.
It might be one of the game changers that the oil and gas industry needs, basically. It might just be one of the game changers.
All right, having said that, I want to thank you so much. We've been talking to the Director General of NECA, Adewale Smatt Oyerinde, and he has been able to throw more light and even give us in-depth analysis, on this topic today. Thank you so much, Mr. Oyerinde, for joining Big Story this morning on Business Day Television.
Thank you for having us once again.
Have a great day, sir. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you.
And gaining so much insight. I appreciate you. All right. Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right. That's all we have for you on the Big Story today. You're still watching The Breakfast Show on Business Day Television. Next is Social Listening. I am Destiny Momoh. Thank you.